Yep, it's up. It hasn't started yet, but it's up.
Okay.
You got to change the name of it if you can. I don't know if you can do that. From
We
where
have to go into YouTube like we normally do, and then we can change it.
I think I can do it from here.
Well, we didn't think this was going to happen. We didn't think this was possible even just a few months ago in our ever-changing world. But nonetheless, we do have a Major League Baseball season as Game 1 is in the books. Opening night is in the books for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates, though, losers in Game 1 against the rival St. Louis Cardinals 5-4. They started off sluggish as they normally do and then kept it interesting towards the end. Alan and I thought maybe we were going to have extra innings and be up all night, but no. We do get that game in at a relatively reasonable hour here, and the Pirates, though, are losers. Game 1 against St. Louis. This is the first Pirates edition of Pittsburgh Postgame here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I'm your host, Mike Asti, and joining me will be Alan Saunders, one of our main reporters here throughout all the now family of networks. And Alan, this is going to be a constant thing we're going to do here on the channel. We're going to bring you Pirates post game, despite not having a necessary designated Pirates site that may be coming someday. But regardless, we're going to bring you post game shows. Alan, myself, and Matt Geica are going to be your hosts with each other or different guests throughout these games, trying to get at least one game in per series now. And of course, Game 1, we had to get this opening night one in. They lose to St. Louis. Alan, what did you make of this game in terms of, you can't read too much into one game, and we're going to get to what we think of the rest of the season as we progress here. It's only one game, but it's a reduced season. Someone out of nowhere is going to surprise someone. There's an expanded playoffs. There's more opportunity now than in most years, but they lose the first one against the Cards.
Yeah, and I mean, like you say, it's one game. It's also one game against maybe the best pitcher in the division, and St. Louis is Jack Flaherty. So right. I think you have to take that with a grain of salt as well. But I mean, certainly not an inspiring performance for really anybody. From either side, really. I mean, I don't think anybody that played that game on either team is like, yes, great, except for maybe Jack Flaherty. He was pretty much unhittable. Pirates couldn't touch him. The Cardinals bullpen didn't look good. The Pirates bullpen didn't look great. Joe Musgrove had some problems with some home runs. The Pirates didn't hit. So, I mean, I don't think anybody's like, yes, excited, even from a Cardinals perspective. But I definitely think, you have to take losing to Flaherty 5-4. I think you feel like that was pretty much an expected result there from that one. But, I think the two big things to me, the two big questions that I had coming into this game that I think are still unanswered coming out of this game is, what is the Pirates pitching staff going to look like? And can this team hit at a level that is going to make them able to compete and be in ball games? I think that's the most important thing.
Right.
Their pitching has talent. And I think they have good depth of talent, but they don't have a number one guy. You look at Joe Musgrove gets the opening day start tonight, and he, I don't know how many teams he'd be the opening day starter for, but it's not more than a handful, maybe 10. He wouldn't be the opening day starter on this team if Chris Archer and Jameson Taillon would be healthy. He'd be the third guy in the rotation instead of the first one. And so if he's going to be the guy that goes up against, and look, the rotations don't line up that way, but you need to have a number one guy, a guy that when it comes to his turn in the rotation, he can get you a win. He can get you deep into ball games. He can make sure that your team is competitive throughout that game.
Right.
I love Joe Musgrove's competitiveness. I think he's a super competitive guy.
Really entertaining to watch. I mean, he really hustles, even going to that defensive play that after a couple errors out there in the outfield, he ends up flipping it there and getting the out at home plate after what was a ball past third. He saved what could have been a disaster there, and it's because of his hustle.
Yeah. He just doesn't have the stuff that you would look for a guy to put into that position, right? He just doesn't have he's throwing his fastball 92 miles an hour tonight, 90, 91, 92. I mean, it's faster than I can throw, so I'm not going to bemean that athletic performance, but that is not what you're looking for from a top frontline starter, right? Not at all.
Sure, right.
And so I think, to me, Musgrove has to be the guy. I don't know that there's anybody else that the Pirates have. Mitch Keller, so young, so inexperienced. He certainly has the stuff, but that would be an enormous ask for him to be that guy. Trevor Williams, Stephen Brault, Derek Holland, just don't have the stuff to be, to me, that dominant pitcher, that pitcher that really can put their foot down on any given night. Those guys are going to, they're just going to have to hope they don't get hit hard. Hope they don't, they can not get into the home run trouble that actually Musgrove got into tonight.
Yeah.
If Joe Musgrove can pitch like he did tonight, I think you take that, though. I mean, he gives up the couple home runs. He got into the sixth inning. I think it'd been nice if he finished that sixth inning at 100 pitches, but that's kind of a nitpick.
Joe Musgrove, good credit here. 3 earned runs, 3 runs, 5 hits, 5 1/4 innings, 7 Ks, 4.76 ERA right now on the year. So yeah, it's a solid. You can't ask for much more. That seems like a solid outing for. The problem is though what you bring up. He kind of reminds me of a guy who I watched a little bit of Cubs baseball tonight too, and you see Kyle Hendricks get a victory and get touted, but he's normally a number 3 starter, but a solid number 3. I even tweeted this. He's arguably been underrated for the last 5 or so years. He's just consistent. Every 3 or 4 years, he might, like 2016, he'll turn up with a year that all of a sudden he's top 5 in Cy Young rates. But that's not normally ever going to be him. He's going to be a normal number 3 starter. That's what Musgrove can be as a ceiling. But the problem is there's not a John Lester on this team that can say, okay, you're fine as the number 3. I'll take the ace role. The Pirates.
I don't think that's a bad performance for Joe Musgrove. I think it's troubling if that's the best the Pirates have.
Right? No, and that's the problem. That even with this being 60 games,
is that if this is the best they've got, and that's the best they can hope for, is 3 runs and 5 and 5 2/3, I think, against the Cardinals. Like that's tough, because what happens when it's the number 5 guy against the Cardinals? Right. So I mean, I think Musgrove gave his team a chance to win the game, right? I mean, they're one ground ball falling in the 9th inning from coming back to tie this thing. I'm not saying that we should be being critical of Joe Musgrove at all. I just think it's not a pitching staff that has a top end to it when it comes to the ability to be a high-end talent. And I think that is going to be a problem. And I think it's especially going to be a problem in a shortened season because, those guys are going to get wore out. Like those guys are going to go every 5th day. Some of them might go on short rest sometimes. They're going to be asked to go deep into games. I mean, every team is worried about pitchers' arms, but I can tell you in a short season, these teams that are gunning for playoff spots, they're going to leave those guys in there 110, 120 pitches. They're going to want them to go 7, 8 innings because they need these wins. Every win is, 2.7 or something like that.
These wins count a lot more than normal. And if you can start out red hot like the Pirates have done in recent years, even if the season ended up being miserable, you're in that thing, especially now with the expanded playoffs. Mike Asti, Alan Saunders here on the Pirates edition of Pittsburgh Postgame on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Anybody watching here, as we are live after the Pirates opening night loss to the St. Louis Cardinals, game 1 of 60, as we're going to try to get at least one of these in throughout every series throughout the summer, mixing any other sports and any games that are actually played. Throw comments into the YouTube channel, throw comments to both of us on Twitter, and we'll try to answer them through the rest of this post-game show. The Pirates lose to St. Louis 5-4. Pirates, you mentioned Joe Musgrove being an X factor, and again, we agree. You can't criticize him. He pitched well. He's normally should be a 3 or a 4 starter. You can't ask much more from him. Problem also is, Alan, Musgrove was pitching without much offense. The offense turned it on after Musgrove left the game, and then it goes back to the Pirates bullpen, which has been solid in past years, but is going to be different this year based on, we of course know, the legal issues that changed that bullpen from even a season ago. And that's not a small deal in terms of taking away a pretty dominant closer and switching around who would be in that rotation at the back end of the bullpen. The Pirates putting up 4 runs off 8 hits and an error. The Cardinals 5 runs, 9 hits, and 1 error. We mentioned Musgrove being a major X factor. He kind of needs to pitch above himself for this team to win because they don't have a deep rotation and they have all those injuries. But offensively, Alan, does it even matter? Does this team have enough offensively to keep them in games and not make it a thing where the offense doesn't wake up until the bullpen's in the game? That's not a recipe to win that often.
Well, as I said at the top, I mean, it's a tough measuring stick tonight. Jack Flaherty
Sure.
is one of the best young pitchers
Absolutely.
in the game, and he's one of the best overall pitchers in the entire division. So a tough draw at the very beginning. And I have a feeling that at least for the elite pitchers are going to be ahead of the hitters for a little bit, I think. I feel that way coming out of like this weird broken up experience, because the pitchers, while they're shut down, are still throwing, right?
Right.
They're still out there working on their stuff every day, but no hitter was out there seeing major league pitching. Okay, and so I think that
well, you hope not, unless you're in Trevor Bauer's pickup Sandlot game.
That's true. So I think it's going to take a little bit for the hitters, I think, in general, league-wide, to catch up, and especially for the high-end guys, right? I mean, it's going to exacerbate the issue. But I do have serious questions about the Pirates lineup.
Wasn't it an issue prior to the pandemic, though? Even if you were previewing this season before we even knew what COVID was, Josh Bell was a bopper, but he slowed down towards the end of last year. We know what Ryan Reynolds did, but otherwise, this is not really a lineup with a lot of punch, even though there's some quality hitters.
And it's probably not as good as it was last year, this year, because it takes Marte out of the equation. And now they don't have Gregory Polanco available to them. So, to me, the big contrast here, though, is you look. I mean, what was the line score again? You just read it. The Pirates
4 runs, 8 hits, 1 error.
Right, and for the Cardinals, it's 5 runs on 5 runs on 9. Right?
Okay. Yeah. And they both had an error.
The difference is the Cardinals' hits went over the fence.
Right.
That's the difference. That's the difference in the ball game. Is the Cardinals hit the ball over the fence?
Absolutely.
And the Pirates didn't, and when they got hits and.
But that's the problem, though. This is 2020 baseball.
Going to come from?
Yeah.
I'm assured that Josh Bell is going to hit some. He came very close to hitting a 3-run homer early in that game, actually. But Josh Bell's going to get some. No doubt in my mind. If Gregory Polanco gets healthy, he'll get a few. No doubt in my mind. Colin Moran, he'll get a couple. Where do the other home runs come from? I mean, there's just no power. Brian Reynolds had a fantastic rookie season, is not a guy with a lot of power at a power position. No. Colin Moran is not a guy with a ton of power for how big he is at a power position. And the other alternative there, Brian Hayes is a defense plus guy, not a big power guy. No power up the middle. No power at catcher. Jacob Stallings, great defensive catcher, had a great clutch hit tonight, but not a power guy. Where's it come from? I don't.
Does this make you
for this to be an above average power hitting lineup?
Right.
And I just think in today's day and age, that's the game. That's how you win baseball games. At least the last couple of years, it's been how you win baseball games. I don't see that getting a lot better than what we saw tonight.
Yeah, and especially now with a universal DH and you're having a reduced schedule, you got to have some firepower to win. And there are going to be teams that have been basically formatted for the universal DH for years that couldn't implement it in the National League that are now going to throw it in there and be even better in terms of their offensive lineups. The Brewers maybe come to mind. Pirates are going to have that problem. Now, Alan, one thing I want to get to here before I do see we have some questions there. We have some comments on our channel. We talk about the offense struggling. It was going to struggle. We knew it was going to struggle even before COVID. Bell and a few others who had that firepower were slumping towards the end of last season. And Reynolds and company, the better hitters, they're just not home run hitters, which you do need in this era of baseball, especially with the universal DH. But does that bring up any credence to the conversation that every now and then has been over Twitter, and he is still available if healthy, in terms of should they have maybe brought in Yasiel Puig just as a guy that you bring in? It's low risk. If it doesn't work out, you flip him, similar to what the Reds did a season ago. Any thoughts on anything like that? He's still out there, and it would be very little money that you'd have to pay him.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they had any intention of signing a guy, they had all offseason.
Yeah, they're not going to do it, but was that a move that should have been made?
Oh, I mean, look, there's lots of moves that should have been made if they're wanted to maximize their potential of winning this season. They shouldn't have traded Starling Marte for a couple of 19-year-olds if they wanted to maximize their potential to win this season. Clearly, the moves that are being made by this franchise are medium term, not short term. They're not looking to sign a guy to get better for right now. And I don't really think Puig is a guy. mostly because of his reputation as a player around the league, that even if you get him and he does okay, he's not going to get you some huge haul at the end of the year anyway. Right. I mean, like,
No.
so.
I mean, he got, what did he get the Reds? Just a kind of a couple relief pitchers and a box of rocks. I mean, yeah, I guess
I don't see that. I don't see that. Look, it's not going to happen. So
no.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I mean, you listen, there are plenty of holes you can poke in the way they developed this baseball team. If the idea was to win as many games as possible in 2020, I would put not signing Yasiel Puig fairly far down that list.
Yeah. Okay. David Grumley, I do want to mention here, is one of our Pittsburgh Sports Face-Off winners. He's a Pittsburgh Face-Off victory. Yeah. He got a victory over one of our pros. Not either one of us, but he did get a victory over another pro. He wrote a comment here. They are good enough to lose games like this. No bench to speak of. Bullpen performed as usual, which I'm assuming he means negatively. Granted, maybe he actually means positively, because the bullpen did play well towards the end here, and did like what I saw from Holmes, though. And then also we see somebody asking, why isn't Tucker getting at bats? We did see Cole Tucker having an appearance in the outfield the other day.
Let me take the bullpen one here, and then maybe we'll get to Tucker in a bit. And I'm going to get to Clay Holmes in a bit as well. Sure. But I just think in general, look, I mean, you take the bullpen. I'm not sure the bullpen was a strength of this team in February. It certainly was not one of the better bullpens in the league. And then you lose, the best reliever.
Yeah, that's real.
Michela, who's not there. You lose Santana, who is suspended for 80 games, so the season. For PEDs, and that's half of the guys they had with back end experience. I mean, so now it's down to Crick and Richard Rodriguez. Michael Feliz has pitched some 8th innings. He also got sent down to AAA last year for a good long while. I love Nick Birdie's stuff, but he's totally unproven at this level. There's not a lot of depth of talent there. And so, like, I'll be perfectly honest, when Derek Shelton went to Clay Holmes, it's like, 6th inning, big spot. I don't know. Like, Clay's kind of a longer reliever guy in my mind. And then I kind of looked at the roster and I'm like, well, look, I mean, I don't have like a dead ringer better answer for you. And maybe the one I would have given would have been Chris Stratton, who didn't pitch. Now he had a 5.5 ERA last year, dead on exactly the same as Clay Holmes. So whatever. I mean, if they're going to have a good bullpen, some of those guys are going to have to pitch better than their track record suggests. But I also think you're seeing a guy managing his first major league game. Look, there's no question about it. I like Derek Shelton. I like the hire, but there's going to be a learning curve there. He's going to lose games as a manager in his first season as a major league manager. And that should be, I mean, I don't think anybody should be excited about it, but you should go into hiring a new major league manager for the first time with the expectation that that's going to happen a couple times. I'm not sure tonight was one of them. Like I said, I don't know that they have a lot better options, but man, this team could really use Keone Keller to get healthy fast. And that would make a big difference, because then, that is a force multiplier, right? You put him in the 9th inning, you put Crick in the 8th inning. Now you're looking at that what was it, 2 outs in the 6th. Now that's not a big gap to the back end of the bullpen. Now you don't have to worry about how many guys it's going to take to get there, as opposed to what Shelton faced today. So good question about the bullpen, and I think we'll get back to Holmes in a second here, because I want to talk about him specifically. He's a very interesting pitcher to me, and we're gonna have a 3 up, 3 down. Let's actually get right into that. We're gonna do this most of the time when we do the Pirates games. Just like, kind of real quick, throw them out there. 3 things we like, 3 things we didn't like. Hopefully we can keep that balance roughly even throughout the year. Things get real bad, we might have to make it 4 and 2. Maybe they like shut somebody out 10-0 and we
3 and 1. Yeah,
just go 6-0, right? We got
to have something said, right?
Yeah, so 10 home runs and a perfect game. We'll go all 6 good. All right. So, I mean, I'll go first, though, and I want to keep going on Clay Holmes, though, because he's a very interesting pitcher to me. He has very good stuff. He has a great plane on his fastball. He's a tall guy. He really throws it downhill, which is something that, even though the sinker is not as much of a thing as it was, that downhill plane on a fastball still creates a lot of deception for guys. And he has had this problem throughout his career where he just goes like 2 weeks without being able to find the plate. And if you take those 2 week stretches away where he's walking runs in, all of a sudden, he's been one of the Pirates' better pitching prospects all the way through the minors. New pitching coaches all throughout the team, throughout the system this year. Clay Holmes is a guy I'm very interested to see, because if you look at his talent level compared to his results in the major leagues so far, they have not lined up. And so if you're looking at, okay, this is a new staff, they're going to be able to make a different kind of impact than the previous one did. He is definitely a guy that is a candidate to be a player where they could make an impact on him, and he could perform significantly better than he has in the past. Because if you take away those stretches where his command fails him, he's been an excellent pitcher, but it is very hard to have a guy in the back of the bullpen that you can't trust to throw strikes. And so he needs that to, in my opinion, even really be a legitimate major league option. So that's something really interesting to watch. But I thought that's a plus up, because I thought he pitched really well tonight. Gives up a dumb flare single to let the inherited run come in. But other than that, I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I think Musgrove, oddly, even in a loss, is definitely an up. I mean, I think, again, he pitched well for him. You can't expect much more out of him. I do think the hustle of this team towards the end is an up. I do think the Moran with a big hit, and in terms of this team actually fighting towards the end, he had a 2-for-4 day. Bell with one for 4 with 2 runs. So again, Bell's going to be somebody that's going to have to bring some pop to the bat. I think that could be an up, the fact that he showed an ability to hit the ball. I think in game 1, you're looking for these guys to make contact. You're looking for these guys to see pitches. It looked like Moran, it looked like Bell were seeing pitches, and that could lead to having a hot start, and it's a reduced season. The concern could be, say, Reynolds, and it's an 0-for-4 day, but again, it's his sophomore season. You're not going to have too many problems with a guy that had such a rookie of the year quality season to open things up last year. But again, this is a short season, so you can kind of read how somebody's doing against a quality pitcher and whether or not they're making contact, seeing the pitches, etc. This team is going to have problems. I do want to bring up, though, because most of the downs are going to be focused on the lack of offense and the pitching staff.
Can I jump in here with a down? Because you just talked about Reynolds and listen, Reynolds goes 0-for-4. Look, I'm not sure Brian Reynolds is as good as he was last year,
right?
As a true level of his talent, but he's not going to be 0-for-4 every day. But no. I'm very concerned about Heredia and Dyson. Look, first of all, it's very unusual to be having 2 outfielders hitting 7th and 9th. I mean, to me, first of all, that is an indication that these are not guys that were deeply within Derek Shelton's trust circle at the outset of the season, right? If you're hitting your right fielder 7th, I don't know how many right fielders hit 7th on a regular basis.
It's a power position normally.
It is a power position. It's an average position. It's not a defensive position. Now, obviously, that's Gregory Polanco's spot when he gets back and he gets healthy. Until that happens, I worry about Heredia's offense, and I worry about Dyson's offense. Look, I mean, they were talking on the broadcast tonight about him replacing Starling Marte. Might he be a slightly better defensive player than Marte is? Maybe. He doesn't have as good of an arm.
That's big words. I mean, we're game 1.
He's got great speed. Great speed. He is a very good, very smooth fielding outfielder. But look, they have good defense in a lot of spots. I think Jacob Stallings is a good defensive catcher. I think Adam Frazier's made great strides to become at least a good defensive second baseman. If they want to put Brian Hayes at third, they could have a great defensive third baseman. Heredia is a great defensive right fielder. Somebody's got to hit the ball. It can't be the right fielder going 0-for-4 with 2 strikeouts and 4 men left on base. Look, that's one game, but that ain't going to cut it. That's a big down for me.
Yeah, and the problem is you have the number 7 guy and the number 2 guy in the order. And again, Reynolds is going to hit. He might not do what he did last year, but he's going to hit. But that's bad spots in the order to go over, the 2 and 7. That means both times around the order, a guy who's probably coming up with somebody on board is doing nothing with the bat. And I think you mentioned hitting the nail on the head on the defense of this team, and we talked about it in the Musgrove segment to open up. There's not an ace on this team. There's a bunch of number 3 starters or worse. So they need quality defense behind them. Musgrove is a pitcher that really relies on defense. He's throwing 92 miles an hour. He's not going to blow anybody's doors off. In fact, 7 strikeouts for him is a pretty good day. So if he gets 7 Ks only allows 3 runs, and you give defense behind him. Here's the problem, Alan. You look at that spread, they should win a game. Musgrove does this. It's hard to imagine Musgrove's going to pitch much better. This is probably the regular Musgrove performance. I do want to ask you here as we kind of get towards rounding things out based on some comments we see here in the PSL chat.
Well, where are we at here? We got three. Do we have 3 ups and a down? We need a couple.
I think I had 3 ups and 1 down. Did you have 3 downs?
We need a couple more downs here.
Okay.
And certainly there are some. Well, I mean, listen, we talked about some downs in the opener, but
I think we kind of did mix in the downs. Yeah.
We'll go back to the bullpen though. Richard Rodriguez again with the home run. That was a big issue for him last year. And I think you have to start to wonder. I mean, this is a guy before 2018 that had 0 career success at the major league level. Comes to Pittsburgh out of nowhere, has a career year. Not great last year. If it's not great again this year, that's looking like a guy that's not the answer. Obviously, 1 game, you don't want to judge a guy on that, but it's the same exact problem. Not a hard hit ball, but it's out of the ballpark. He's got to find a way to lock that up and quickly, or he's not going to be able to be a reliable option late in the games either. We got one.
I think you need 1 more down then.
Oh, I got 1 more down. The umpires were bad. Oh man. Man, I'm blowing obvious call at first base. I mean, in the first inning, how do you miss a first base call? First of all, I mean, you should be able to make that with your eyes closed. And I thought the strike zone was a bit wobbly back and forth, and that's 2 catchers that are really good at stealing them in Stallings and Yadier Molina. So, I mean, maybe we give them some credit, but I thought the strike zone was pretty poor. And robot umps now.
We've made so many changes. We basically have drastically changed Major League Baseball.
We don't have baseball game. They haven't fixed that yet, though.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've done everything else.
Let's get to another question. Let me see what we got here.
Well, one I wanted to bring up that I did see in here that I think kind of segues into what we've been talking about with the pitching staff and even the bullpen. It's kind of going to put a spin on what Brandon says here. Are there any starters, Alan, for you that you could toss into the bullpen if needed? And who would they be?
Starter that you could toss in the bullpen. Well, I mean, I think Chris Stratton is a guy that's like kind of a starter that's in the bullpen.
Because that might be a thing that's necessary.
If you really want to, if you want to take a guy who's a starting pitcher and you don't want to just put him in the bullpen as like the long man or as like an extra starter, and you want to convert a guy into a reliever with the idea that you're going to make him a late inning reliever, to me, it's Chad Kuhl. Chad Kuhl can throw 100 miles an hour. He's been working on that curveball.
That's what Brandon said.
I like his slider. He's had some troubles with lefties, but that's something that you can avoid in that role, make a little bit more than you can as a starter. And I just love, he's got the mentality for it. You know, he's like this ball of nerves on the mound all the time anyway. And, that's not what you want from a starting pitcher. But I think as a reliever, those guys are they're allowed to be a little bit crazy out there, right? They're only going to go an inning or two. Just let it all fly out. I really think that he has the stuff and the makeup to be a very successful relief pitcher. And if there's one guy from that, like if they just need somebody to throw the 5th and 6th and 7th inning when they have a bad day, anybody can do that.
Right.
And Stratton did that last year a lot. But I really do think Chad Kuhl could be a very good relief pitcher. And when you look at this, rotation, the question to me is who pushes him away, right? Where does I guess right now he's lined up to piggyback with Stephen Brault, and I guess they're going to try that for a little while. But and Stephen Brault has had some pretty good numbers in the past, but he has not been a guy that's worked deep into games when he was doing it. So piggybacking him seems like a good idea. At the end of the day, you can move the parts around as much as you want. The bottom line is they don't have enough good pitchers. And so it doesn't really matter which order you pitch them in. If you don't have enough good ones, eventually it's going to bite you, right? So you move Chad Kuhl from piggybacking with Stephen Brault to the back end of the bullpen to put him in the 7th inning with Crick and Kella. And then Brault leaves after 5. The second guy of the bullpen gets lit up, and Cole spends the night chewing sunflower seeds. Oh, you don't chew sunflower seeds anymore. No, never mind. Sorry. No chewing. He'll just sit there bored.
He can have a string cheese that Cole Tucker, I'm sure, will provide him, and maybe he can teach Cole Tucker how to peel the string cheese, since I don't know what Cole was doing the other night there when he had his rare outfield appearance. Yeah, that's actually exactly what Brandon said. So you had the right mindset. I don't know if you looked over at the chat, but he brought up Cole. So that is somebody that it does seem like would transition if you had to, but I think you hit the point there that the issues in terms of injuries and suspensions and controversy and legal problems of the last year and a half have hit the starters and the bullpen, and now it's a catastrophe. They just can't make up for all of that lost ground, and they're not realistically planning on winning this year, but even in a reduced season that somebody's going to surprise, it's very unlikely to be the Pirates based on these core issues that a winning team needs to have. Somebody be a dominant starter that you can rely on, needs to have some bullpen protection at the minimum, and needs to have some more pop in the bat than only one or two men. And the Pirates at maximum would have all of that, and it's just not good enough. They're not there with any that they need.
Last thing before we kind of spin it forward and start to wrap this thing up is a couple comments there about Cole Tucker. I think Cole Tucker can be another guy that can provide them some good defense, either at shortstop.
I was going to say defensively, yeah.
Maybe in the outfield. I think if you're going to – the reason they're going to give Heredia a shot is because if you're going to play Heredia, then you put him in right field and you leave everybody else alone, right? They're trying Cole Tucker in the outfield. But if they were going to honestly, like, let's say Heredia gets hurt tomorrow and they're just like, okay, we got to play Cole Tucker right now as like a regular guy all the time. You're going to move everybody around. You're going to put Frazier in the outfield, Newman at second, Tucker at short, because that's the best way to do it defensively. Or maybe even you leave Tucker at second. Doesn't really matter the way they shift anymore. Anyway, those positions have become nearly analogs. But so you play Heredia because you don't have to move the other two guys. So if he can hit it all, then you go. And look, Tucker is a guy. Look, I love the kid. He has infectious energy for the game, passion. One of, to me, you want to look at, somebody to point out to your little leaguer, hustles all the time, great heart, energy, passion, right? Like if I was coaching Little League, go watch Cole Tucker every game. But he has not proven at any level that he can be an above average hitter. And so he's not a guy that's going to get put into the lineup for his bat. And right now, they're playing okay defense. I expect the lineup that they put out there tonight to play okay defense. The big issue is, can it hit? I'm not sure how much he fixes that problem. I do think they'll give Heredia a shot and an extended shot. But if that doesn't work, maybe Tucker gets his chance. And look, I hate talking about prospects because they're not finished people, right? What Cole Tucker has shown to this point does not suggest that he should be a great major league hitter, but people can grow. And, I think Brian Reynolds is a guy last year that I don't think anybody thought at this time last year that Brian Reynolds was going to be a great major league player, let alone a great major league player in 2019. He turned out to be. Things can happen, but I don't think he's the answer just straight from a bat perspective.
No, and I do think the issue is that, as we talked about earlier, it's kind of the theme so far of post-game show number one for the Pirates and probably the rest of them through the season. The Pirates need more offense. They don't necessarily need more defense. They have the defense. The defense helped Musgrove. Musgrove pitched okay. You're probably not going to get more than that pitching performance from any of their starters. The bullpen was okay again. You're probably not going to get more than that from any of the guys in the pen. But the defense helped out. The defense elevated those things, whereas the offense did not wake up until the end. So you don't need more offense. You don't need more defense. You do need more offense. Now, and as we wrap things up here, again, this is game one. This is game one of 60. This is the first post-game show here for the Pirates on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Mike Asti, Alan Saunders. Pirates lose the Cards 5-4. So what do you think about the rest of this series? They're going to play St. Louis throughout the weekend. Once again, this is a rival team, but this is a team with some quality starters. This is a team with one of the best catchers in the last 30 years, so he's going to help those starters immensely. Thoughts on the Pirates getting lucky to get one out of these three to somehow change course throughout the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, they got Trevor Williams against Adam Wainwright tomorrow. Wainwright's a guy they've had some success against in the past, although I'm not sure how much the past really matters when you look. I mean, there's nobody hitting that's been on this team for more than 3 years, is there? No. No, there's not.
No.
So I don't know that really matters. Look, Wainwright's, obviously a good pitcher. Trevor Williams, certainly capable pitcher. An interesting matchup for sure. I'm really interested to see how Mitch Keller goes on Sunday, honestly, though. I think he's the guy with the most upside of all the Pirates pitchers that has the ability to perform at a level above what he's shown so far. Him having a very strong first start, I think, would be a big step for him. But look, the Cardinals are good. The division's good. It's not – that's –
yeah.
Look, I mean, look, a lot of the
doesn't get any easier on Monday either.
A lot of the negativity about the Pirates is unfounded, but an underfounded, is that a word? I don't know. I just made it a word. Something that people should be more negative.
And you're a wordsmith.
Something that people should be more negative about than they are is how good the National League Central is, and it's a really strong division with 3 at least really good teams. And listen, I'm not a Reds believer, but they're certainly a lot better than they were last year, and they're certainly coming into the season with a greater talent level than the Pirates. I think that with a condensed schedule, you're going to play more division games than usual. I think it's even tougher for the Pirates than usual. They're going to have to come up with ways to win against teams that are better than them, frankly, and the Cardinals are one of those teams, and not one that generally is going to give you the game either. You usually got to beat the Cardinals if you're going to beat them, and we shall see. Do this again tomorrow. I'm going to host, and we're going to have a guest, and I don't know who it's going to be yet. Surprise guest in an episode. Well, I mean, we've been having Pittsburgh Postgame. Matt Geika has hosted 2 with John Krasinski as the Riverhounds have gotten back in action.
Yeah.
We actually had this launched just before the whole world went to hell.
Did something for Pitt.
Yeah, we did Pitt basketball in the NCAA tournament. And then yeah, geez.
Yeah, and we did some post games for the Steelers too, even though it wasn't called Pittsburgh Postgame at that point. So I actually did move things around the channel. You have all our past post game shows there at your viewing pleasure right in front of you, and we're going to do more of these as we go on. But yeah, I think the Pirates are in trouble in this division, to say the least. They have a lot of weaknesses that you would not want in a winning team. Granted, you're not expecting much coming into this year. And you mentioned the Reds. I've seen some people actually predict they could make the playoffs with the expanded field. And here's one thing they have the Pirates don't have, despite being relatively similar of a team in a market. They have power. They can hit home runs, which they've always been able to do, and the Pirates have always seemingly struggled at doing, and it makes it a lot easier if you can hit the ball out of the ballpark, because as we mentioned, and I'll read the line one more time, the Pirates with four runs, 8 hits, Cardinals 5 off 9. Very, very similar. Cardinals put the ball out of the ballpark. The Pirates struggle to get runners home until the end. Eventually came around, made it interesting as they like to do, but it was not enough. Pittsburgh loses game 1 of 60 and game 1 against the Cardinals in this series. Opening night loss to St. Louis in Busch Stadium, 5-4. Pirates 4 runs, 8 hits, and an error. Cards 5 runs off 9 hits and 1 error. That was Alan Saunders. I'm Mike Asti, and as Alan said, we're going to be back here tomorrow night. Alan is going to be hosting that one. I'll be on the night off, and he will have a surprise guest who, if he can't deliver anybody, that surprise will be me, probably.
Oh no, we'll get one.
I know.
I'm sure I'll put it on Twitter. You follow me at @asaunders_pgh, and we'll put it out there. But it's not confirmed yet, so we can't overpromise and underdeliver here.
We don't want to do that, no. So a surprise guest. We have some solid ones throughout the Pittsburgh Sports Live channel, so we'll see if Alan can beat any that we've had to this point. But we'll have a surprise guest with Alan for post-game show number 2 of this Pirates season. We're then going to pivot throughout, take a little break on Sunday. Matt will be with you on Monday. We're then actually going to be doing these post-game shows even for the Penguins as they get started to their season as well and then into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there with Dan Kongursky joining us as well for those post-game shows. And then I'll be back with you next week for more on the Pirates. And then we venture towards and a big if, Alan didn't even really want to get into the conversation in our group text earlier. If there is college football, we will try to do a post-game show of either myself hosting for WVU and Alan probably hosting for Pitt. But if you listen to Alan, it is irrelevant because it's just not going to happen.
Pessimistic about college football.
Yeah, I'm with you too, actually. Normally I'm more pessimistic, but I think you take the cake for this one. So again, for Alan Saunders, I'm Mike Asti, and for the rest of Pittsburgh Sports Live, this was Game 1, post-game show 1 of this Pirates season, and the Pirates start off with a loss to St. Louis, but I think Alan and I got a victory, at least for this broadcast here on PSO. Good night, folks.